two top 10 teams, and the winner of today's game stays very much in the conversation for the college football playoff.
Big 12, big game underway. Another third down and long. And throws an interception. A 3-touchdown deficit that Baylor's got to make up. At the 7, he gets the call. He walks in, touchdown. At 2nd and 9, long ball, streak on the sideline, touchdown. The highest scoring game in this series history. We're not done yet.
They've got TCU on their heels right now. Petty, play action. Going to the end zone. Corey Coleman, touchdown! Touchdown, Corey Coleman!
We've got a tie game at 58-58. 4th and 3. Boykin gonna loft one. Deep on the sideline. Broken up. Baylor's gonna get it back. If he hits this, he'll be the biggest man on campus. He got it. 24 unanswered points. Unbelievable.
Welcome to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Jimmy John's, part of ESPN's rivalry series, presented by Jiffy Lube. After a 45-minute weather delay due to lightning, we are ready for football. Raining still off and on, temperature in the high 30s, wind chill in the low 20s. For Baylor and TCU, so much at stake for the Bears. Still a chance at a Big 12 championship and a spot on the college football playoff, but they have to win tonight. And next week at home against Texas, plus Oklahoma has to lose tomorrow night to Oklahoma State, a game that will be on ABC. And welcome to the booth alongside Brian Greasy. I'm Dave Pasch. Tom Luganbill will join us in a moment. Well, last year's epic 61-58 game in Waco, Brian, was all about quarterback play. This game's about the quarterbacks as well, but for a different reason. Injuries. Trevon Boykin coming off an ankle injury, didn't play in their loss at Oklahoma last week. And meanwhile, Baylor is down to its third quarterback because of injuries. Chris Johnson making his first career start.
Yeah, and I think for Trevon Boykin, you weren't going to keep him off the field. The last game he's going to play in this stadium. How is that ankle going to respond? You see him in pregame. It looks tender. That high ankle sprain from 2 weeks ago in the Kansas game, how will he react? Will he be able to be the Trevon Boykin that we have come to see be so explosive outside the pocket? And you're right, for Chris Johnson, the first start you make in your college career is on the road in a rivalry game, and you have to wait 45 minutes for it to start. What's going through his head? And then on top of all of that, the elements today, the rain, the wind chill, as you mentioned, in the low 20s. And we're going to test the mental toughness of Tom Luganbill down on the field today. So, Tom, how is the weather going to affect these guys with the football?
Well, for two teams, Brian, that want to throw the football an awful lot, they're going to have to do it with a wet ball. Now, it's gotten colder, it's gotten windier, and the surface is really, really sloppy. So when you're holding a wet ball, you don't want to squeeze too hard. You want those fingertips to be relatively loose and to be able to have some space between your palm. If you see quarterbacks palming it and cupping it, they're probably going to lose control, and it's going to take away from their accuracy. Now, watch Trevon Boykin. He will take the football, and he'll switch and put his fingers on the seam as opposed to on the laces. He's a little bit more comfortable with that. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the rain picks up, how these quarterbacks handle poor conditions.
All right, Tom, grab that microphone tight. We'll be talking to you throughout the telecast. One could argue Baylor TCU now the best college football rivalry in Texas. They meet again next.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Jiffy Lube. Experts around every corner to help you leave worry behind.
Well, it's not exactly the ice planet Hoth, but it probably feels like that for a lot of these kids from Texas, as Jaden Oberkrom will get ready to kick it off with the temperature at 39 and the wind chill at 23. Chance of rain 100%. It's been raining off and on throughout the day. Baylor won the toss and elected to receive, so we'll get a good look at Chris Johnson, a sophomore from Bryan, Texas, about 2.5 hours from Fort Worth, making his first collegiate start. TCU trying for its 10th win of the season, lost a heartbreaker last week at Oklahoma. Baylor won at Oklahoma State to keep its Big 12 title and college football playoff hopes alive. And it's a short kickoff. Chris Platt from the 6-yard line. And Platt with a running lane to the outside. Out near the 40-yard line. Great starting field position for the Baylor Bears. Chris Johnson in relief last week threw a 39-yard touchdown pass in the third quarter to Jay Lee, then a 71-yard touchdown pass on the very next attempt to K.D. Cannon. He redshirted 2 years ago, played 4 games last year, threw 4 passes. Then in training camp this year, he was moved to wide receiver. He's got 3 catches on the season and was switched back to quarterback in October. He replaces Jarrett Stidham, who injured his ankle against Oklahoma State. Stidham could be back for the ball game. Seth Russell started the season and played well before a neck injury ended his year. Shock Linwood is starting for Baylor. He was battling an ankle injury himself last week, and on the first play, he's out to the 43-yard line for a 4-yard run, brought down by Mike Tua'ua.
You know, the biggest difference for Chris Johnson is you're all week you know you're going to be the starting quarterback. It's very different than last week. You come in an emergency situation with Stidham getting hurt. How does he react and how are his nerves?
Here's Linwood again, and he's out to the 47-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd down and short.
And the best way to get rid of the nerves of a young quarterback making his first start is to run the football. And we know that Art Briles and Kendall Briles in this Baylor unit, that's a primary issue.
It's Linwood again, and he's short. Knocked down at the 48-yard line. Ty Summers on the stop of Shock Linwood. Leads the Big 12 in rushing, but Baylor going for it here on 4th down. The quarterback sneak, and it's close. Looks like he's got it based on where the head linesman is standing. Some pushing and shoving after the play. No surprise given the fact that these two are rivals. Things have become really bitter the last 12 months between these two, including the painting of RG3 statue on the Baylor campus, and then the Baylor students spray painting 6158 all over the TCU campus. Let's see if Johnson was able to pick it up here. It was Ty Summers coming in there with the hit for TCU.
They're going to measure, and you know, I don't know that I like that call from Kendall Briles, Art Briles, so early in the game. It's a rivalry game, and you've been pent up for 45 extra minutes in the locker room, and to come out in the first drive on your side of the field and go for it on 4th down, it's a risk.
He got it though. 1st down, Baylor. Art Briles in his 8th season. He turns 60 next week. Consecutive 11-win seasons. They tied for the Big 12 title last year. Of course, left out of the college football playoff. They won the Big 12 2 years ago. They need help to capture the 2015 Big 12 title. Need 2 wins, and then also need Oklahoma to lose tomorrow night. Now they're going to review this further to see if indeed Johnson got the 1st down. This is really going to be hard to tell, though. Of course, you need indisputable video evidence beyond all doubt to overturn the ruling on the field.
Yeah, and we see, you know, whether it's on the goal line or short yardage situations like this, there's so many bodies in there, this is rarely ever overturned.
Because you can't see the ball.
Yeah.
You got to be able to see the ball for it to be enough evidence to overturn.
It'll be interesting to track, you know, as we watch Chris Johnson rush for the first time. How much does he run the football in this game? That's kind of his strength, but he's the only healthy quarterback.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. 1st down.
That's Mike Defee, the referee. To your point on Johnson being the only quarterback, his backup is a true freshman that the coaches really don't even know who he is. We're talking to some of the Baylor folks. They know his name, Zach Benham. They know he's from Aurora, Illinois, but that's about all they know.
Well, I don't know that Art Briles actually knew his name.
They actually might move a receiver to quarterback like Chris Johnson. If Johnson gets hurt, he's going to air it out here. Going for the top target for Baylor, and there's a penalty flag. Corey Coleman, one of the top receivers in all the college football, a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award, was interfered with by Corey O'Mealy.
O'Mealy was in good position, and corners are taught to run these receivers out of bounds as part of the technique.
Pass interference. Defense number 3. Cut the receiver's path off to the football. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. 1st down.
You hear him say, cut the receiver's path off to the football. There's O'Mealy. Now he gets the arm bar, looks back for the football.
I don't know about that one, Grease. I mean Coleman's got a hold of O'Mealy's jersey. I think that's a bad call.
That official couldn't see that Corey Coleman had his hand on O'Mealy. It could have called the other way.
So first down inside the 40-yard line. Play action. Johnson. And Katie Cannon on the catch at the 25 for 11 yards and a first down.
Well, Chris Johnson was our 5th-ranked quarterback coming out of the class in the dual threat category, but he wasn't a heavily recruited player. It was all raw athletic ability, something that Art Briles felt that they could mold, and now that molding starting to take shape as he gets his first start here tonight.
And he's moving the team here. Penalty flag down. There was movement by Baylor.
False start. Offense. Number 61. 5-yard penalty. First down.
No, Chris Johnson was not a heavily recruited player, guys, at quarterback. And most of Art Briles' quarterbacks outside of Jarrett Stidham have not been highly touted guys. And that includes Robert Griffin III. Go back to Houston, you had Case Keenum. Seth Russell wasn't overly heavily recruited. So this player right here is getting his opportunity to use his athleticism and his arm talent here on his first start against TCU on the road.
And he's going to throw it into the end zone here, and it's broken up and picked off. What a terrific play by Julius Lewis, a true freshman. There is a penalty flag down, though, in the backfield. A great interception by Lewis. They've had all kinds of injuries on defense, but it's coming back.
Passer. Defense number 94. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Josh Caraway not only negates an interception, but gives Baylor the ball now in the red zone.
Boy, you get a huge play from Julius Lewis, and Caraway, number 94, just comes in late. It's 2 steps. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Every defensive lineman knows that you can't hit the quarterback with 2 steps. 1 step, you're okay. And he takes away from a great play by the true freshman.
And Baylor has scored a touchdown in every opening drive this year. The only team in the FBS to do it. That almost went by the wayside. Johnson running here inside the 10. Knocked down near the first down marker by Nick Orr. And Baylor's so good to start games. One of the big reasons they're 9-1. They lead the country in total offense and scoring.
And this is the area of the field where Chris Johnson at 240 running the football is such an advantage.
It's second and short. Johnson slipped, but did get the first down to the 5. You see that field chewed up a lot because of the rain. And again, we had a weather delay of 45 minutes due to lightning. First and goal. And here's Linwood. Puts the head down and gets to about the 2-yard line. Stood up by Chris Bradley. This TCU defense playing much better of late. They've had so many injuries. They lost 6 starters entering the season and then lost a bunch more due to injury during the season. Linwood is knocked down in the backfield for a loss. Denzel Johnson made the play along with Pearson for TCU, bringing up a 3rd and goal.
And that's a big reason why they're playing so much better, Dave, is Denzel Johnson coming down in that nickel linebacker position. He's been used a lot in the backfield by Gary Patterson, blitzing off the edge, that time unaccounted for, gets a tackle for loss.
So it's 3rd down and goal from the 3-yard line. And Chafin plows forward and gets stood up at the goal line. And they're going to say he didn't get in. It'll be 4th down for Baylor. It was Davion Pearson in the middle of that TCU defense, a preseason All-Big 12 performer that made the stick.
Pearson and then Traven Howard, the linebacker. And again, for the same reason that you can't really tell on the 4th down at midfield if you got enough yardage. Same thing here. You can't tell. And if you go for it on 4th and 1 at the 50, you know Art Briles is going to go 4th and 1 at the 1.
Will it be another quarterback sneak with the 235-pound quarterback?
The man on the field was short of the goal line. The previous play is under further review.
But to your point, if you can't see the ball, it's not going to be overturned. Devin Chafin, the ball carrier here. Got no shot there to see it.
give Travon Howard a ton of credit as well. You know, he moved from safety down to linebacker, and they lost both inside linebackers to injury. He's only 190 pounds playing the Mike linebacker on a defense for Gary Patterson. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there.
And then you had Pearson, who had his arm wrapped around the head of Chafin, had him in a headlock there as he was trying to keep him out of the end zone.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. 4th down.
I think this is the right call for Art Briles to go for it here. In this kind of game, it'll be fascinating to watch these two coaches after a 61-58 game last year. How do they put a premium on points in this elements? And when it's raining like this and the field is wet, you don't know how many points you're going to be able to score. You're down here. I like going for it.
I'm with you. I think you got to go for it here. You get inside the 1. You've got an offensive line that should overpower this TCU defensive front.
But you're right. If I'm Gary Patterson, I'm stacking both A-gaps over the center, anticipating the quarterback sneak from the 240-pound quarterback.
And big number 80, Laquan McGowan at 410 pounds is lined up in the backfield. They'll hand it off. Linwood will make that Chafin over the top, and he's in for the touchdown. The ball came out, but that was well after Chafin crossed the plane as Baylor scores again a touchdown in the opening drive.
And Chafin does a great job because Ty Summers, number 42, came unblocked. And Chafin just gets enough to get that ball across the plane.
That's the 7th rushing touchdown for Devin Chafin. Shocked Linwood, start of the game, but he's battling an ankle injury. The coaches told us we'll see Chafin, Johnny Jefferson, Terrence Williams as well at running back today. And then you had Chris Johnson. Basically, that's 5 different guys that will carry the football between the tackles. And the point after from Chris Callahan, who hit the game-winning field goal to make it 61-58 last year. Baylor on top thanks to a roughing the passer penalty by Josh Caraway that negated an interception by Julius Lewis. Briles goes for it on 4th down, and the Bears score. Saturday Night Football presented by Walmart at 8 Eastern on ABC. Bedlam, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. The Sooners will clinch the Big 12 championship and probably a spot on the college football playoff if they win against Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma loses, Baylor's back in it. The Bears need to win tonight and win next week against Texas. They're off to a good start, leading 7-0. Raining again here in Fort Worth. We had a 45-minute delay due to lightning. Cavante Turpin, true freshman, very dangerous with the ball in his hands, and there he goes. And a nice tackle at the 36-yard line. Davion Hall. So Trevon Boykin is back. The FBS leader in total offense. Missed last week's loss to Oklahoma due to an ankle injury. He holds 19 school records. The Big 12 preseason Offensive Player of the Year. He won the award last year, finished 4th in Heisman voting. He's a dual threat. Was a receiver himself a couple of years ago before being converted back to quarterback.
Yeah, and the question is, can he continue to be that dual threat in this game with that ankle? He looked ginger in warmups.
Got a very good tailback. Aaron Green, high snap, and Boykin gonna hand it off on the delay. Green, who's very good in the hole at making defenders miss, gets to the 44 for 7 yards. Boykin 29 touchdown passes on the year. 4 of the 9 interceptions came in their one loss against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and this is going to be probably the toughest game for Trevon Boykin because he's going to have to operate from the pocket almost exclusively because of that ankle. And the question is, with Phil Bennett, defensive coordinator for Baylor, knowing he's going to be in the pocket, how can he get pressure on Trevon Boykin?
He's got Cavante Turpin in the backfield with him here on 2nd down, and Boykin will throw. Gonna air it out. Jump ball. Overthrown. Incomplete. Intended for Emmanuel Porter, and a late penalty flag is thrown. We saw those jump balls a ton in the game last year in Waco. Ryan Reed was in coverage that time for the Bears on Emmanuel Porter, who's becoming one of the go-to receivers with Josh Dotson out for the season due to a wrist injury.
Pass interference. Defense, number 9. 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
Ryan Reed will be targeted a lot in this football game. A year ago, he went one-on-one with Josh Dotson. This year will be Porter, as you mentioned, because of the injury to Dotson. Porter missed 6 games himself this season, so he's just getting back healthy, and that's a good call.
7 catches on the season for Porter. Started last week against Oklahoma as TCU is in Baylor territory at the 40-yard line. Boykin, a senior from right here in Dallas. And Boykin, as the defender fell down, Jerrison Stewart gets the first down inside the 30 to the 26 for 14 yards.
You know, watching Trevon Boykin in both warm-up sessions, he certainly wasn't as fleet of foot as you'd expect him to be, and he's stiff in the lower body. If Baylor cannot rush the passer, they're going to be in trouble because he won't have to move like he normally likes to.
He moves here, looking for a running lane, and down he goes at the 25, getting 1 yard.
And that's a perfect example of what Luke's just talking about right there. Normally, Trevon Boykin, when he gets to that second level, nobody catches him. We've seen him do amazing things when he gets outside the pocket. The run against West Virginia comes to mind where he got a high five from Dana Holgorsen. But he's going to have to adjust his game. And that'll probably be the biggest challenge for him, as well as Doug Meacham, Sonny Cumbie, calling plays for him from the pocket.
Boykin, another pass play. He's going to fire into the end zone. It's caught. Did he hang on? He did. Touchdown, Stewart. The first touchdown of Jerrison Stewart's career. The true freshman hauls it in.
Rain is coming down in sheets, but that does not affect Trevon Boykin. It's just a little pick route with Stewart. He runs a wheel, and he gets wide open on the linebacker, Taylor Young. That's a mismatch.
30th touchdown pass of the season for Boykin, as the receiver able to secure it all the way to the ground. Point after by Oberchrome ties the game at 7.
Who knows? Maybe we get another 61-58 game. The elements don't bother these two teams.
Cold here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper has made its way to Fort Worth for tonight's game. Baylor hoping to be in the college football playoff. 7th this week. They were number 10 last week, but then won at Oklahoma State 45-35. Baylor and TCU tied at 7. 6 minutes gone by here in the first quarter. This will be a touchback. Zamora takes a knee. It will come out to the 25. Let's check in with Tom down on the field.
Fellas, with conditions like this, the officials give each team, particularly tempo teams, the option to play with a wet ball throughout the course of the game or a dry ball. Both coaching staffs, Gary Patterson and Art Briles, have chosen to go with a wet ball. Now, what that means is if both teams are running at a high tempo with pace, they don't necessarily get to interchange the ball from the sideline. They're not always going to have a dry ball, particularly if the play ends between the numbers. And so they're at the mercy of having to deal with the elements to the utmost, and they can't change to slow it down during the course of the game. They pick one or the other, and they live with it.
That's really interesting. Both these coaches value the pace on offense more so than the risk of turning it over.
And here's a big hole for Jefferson across the 30 to the 32. So that's a 7-yard run before Traven Howard makes the tackle.
So you'll see that center judge is now going to spot the ball, and because of this pace, they won't get a dry ball in the game.
Jefferson again has the first down. An ankle tackle made to stop a big play by Montrell Wilson.
And you see the center judge come in, so that's been the same ball, now the 3rd play, and it's just continually getting rained on.
Now Johnson to throw, looking deep, gonna fire it. Incomplete, trying to hit Cannon. Good coverage by Nick Orr.
So when you consider you've got a wet surface, you got wet hands from the center, the pants of the uniforms are wet, and then every time the ball carrier goes down, he's cupping it with a wet jersey grease. This is going to be very difficult as these conditions continue to worsen.
Well, and if I'm going to throw the ball, I'm going to throw it early in the drive before the ball gets wet, because that last throw on the 3rd play of the series, that wet ball certainly affected Chris Johnson's accuracy.
They'll run it here on the delay. Jefferson with a first down and more. Breaks a tackle at the 40. They finally knock him down inside the 20. Johnny Jefferson with a huge run for Baylor.
You know, Shock Linwood tweaked an ankle and a knee last week in the game, and Johnny Jefferson is going to see more carries in this football game. He's a little bit faster, more explosive even than Shock Linwood.
That was a 45-yard run by Jefferson. Johnson throwing, and to the 10-yard line is Jay Lee. They're harder to throw ball on a short route or a deep pass with that wet football.
Well, they're all hard when the ball's slippery, but certainly when you got to be more accurate on the short throws, it's difficult. Sometimes the long throw is easier because you just throw it as far as you can.
Quarterback run. Johnson runs over a defender and picks up the first down. Nick Orr giving up about 60 pounds to the quarterback, Chris Johnson.
And this is all new for TCU defensively. They don't know anything about Chris Johnson. They know he's a big kid, but they don't know how he's going to react in the hole. He put his shoulder down.
Here's Chafin. Another touchdown for Devin Chafin. He's got both Baylor scores.
17 plays Baylor's run offensively, 14 of them on the ground. You can see Art Briles' points of emphasis this week in a rivalry game on the road with their third-string quarterback in bad weather. It's going to be who's the toughest up front. We're going to run the football in between the tackles.
7-play, 75-yard drive in 1:27 for the top scoring team in the country. If they end up leading the country in scoring, it'd be the third straight year, and they'd be the first team since BYU from 79 to 81 to accomplish that feat. They've already got 14 points in half of the first quarter. Both touchdowns by Devin Chafin. Saturday, it's college football presented by Kay Jewelers at noon Eastern on ABC for the game. Michigan and Ohio State. Then at 3:30 on ESPN, if Michigan State beats Penn State, it'll be the Spartans in Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. Take a look at tonight's home field advantage presented by Quicken Loans. Michigan's only home loss was that crazy finish against Michigan State. And the last time Ohio State lost on the road, Urban Meyer wasn't even their coach. That's when Luke Fickell was the interim coach after Jim Tressel was let go in 2011. So Baylor now with the most 2-minute touchdown drives, 46 on the season. They're up 14-7 on TCU. Temperatures in the high 30s, wind chill in the low 20s. No more lightning though since it struck about 2 hours ago. Here's Cavante Turpin. Had a good return the first time, trying to get to the outside. And Hall had an angle on him, so he stepped out at the 33-yard line. TCU is at 20 starters injured for Gary Patterson's squad this year, including Ranthony Tejada, outstanding corner. Aaron Curry just got hurt recently. Here are the offensive starters, most notable Josh Dotson, the nation's leader in receiving yards per game due to a wrist injury, plus Joey Hunt at center, Jamel Naff at left guard. They've had a total of 30 freshmen, 15 true freshmen and 15 redshirt freshmen that have played. That's the second most total in the country of freshmen behind Rice with 31. Yet they got 9 wins.
That's an outstanding job by Gary Patterson. I know the expectations were high this season, and you don't expect to lose that many guys.
And Boyk into the air, coming off a touchdown pass. Another deep shot here. What a grab by Porter. And the defender, Ryan Reed, all over him. And he went up high to pull it down for 32 yards.
Well, you show Josh Dotson on the sidelines. This is the guy that they need to step into his position at that X receiver. Manuel Porter, who is taller than Dotson. He's 6'4", 210 pounds, and has the ability to go up and get the football. That matchup, Porter on Reed, will be something to keep track of all game long.
6'4", 210 pounds from Dallas, a sophomore. They're inside the Baylor 35. That's Turpin running into the backfield here. Boykin, Porter in traffic, made a catch, got crunched right at the first down marker by Reed and Waz. Gain of 9.
Yeah, keep feeding him. He's hot. Get him involved in the game. Like we said, he hasn't played a whole lot of football. Only 7 catches coming into this game. They need Porter to make plays if they're going to continue to keep pace on the scoreboard with Baylor.
2nd down and a yard. Aaron Green, who's got 1,100 yards rushing in the season, in the backfield with Boykin. But Boykin outside the pocket, a flag down, and Boykin did not get the first down. It's going to be a penalty on TCU.
Yeah, TCU, you mentioned all those injuries. They've got 2 injuries up front on the offensive line as well, center and left guard.
Offense number 68, 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That's on Joseph Noteboom, the right tackle. But Joey Hunt, their starting center, is out. Jamal Naff out as well. And this time on the right tackle, Noteboom. Be something to keep track of. You got a gimpy quarterback and 2 offensive linemen out, Dave. How is the protection going to hold up against a defensive front for Baylor with Oakman and Billings and Palmer that is active to the quarterback?
And Billings right there, 75 in white. He's their best player on defense. Boykin airing it out into the end zone and out of bounds. It was Turpin, and the back judge says it's incomplete.
That was a heck of a catch. I don't care if he was inbounds or not. That was an outstanding catch. He's got such great speed.
Wow.
Couldn't tell that right knee, but that was close, a lot closer than you think. He definitely caught the football. The question is that right knee or right foot in?
Play is under further review.
It's hard to tell when he secured the ball, when he had possession, was that knee off the ground. Ruling the field is an incompletion.
That's a lot closer than it looked live. It looked like he may have dragged that right toe. They're going to take a look.
Again, you need indisputable video evidence, and you got the rain in front of you too here for our replay official Don Capral trying to make the call.
The elements affecting the replay officials too. They're not immune.
Let's see that right foot. Now, does he have possession? Has he secured it yet, though?
Is that toe? I mean, I think he catches the football.
Wow,
and maintains possession to the ground, and he's got the football, rolls over, he's still got the football.
The
question is that right toe.
Yeah, when he had possession of it, was his toe still on the ground, or did it come up?
Which, you know, we're sitting here going back and forth, which means to us that there's not indisputable video evidence to overturn this.
Right. But you and I have seen some this year. We thought there was no way they'd get overturned based on the video evidence, and we were shocked. That was in the Pac-12.
What an effort by Turpin, though. The speed to get by those guys and then to make that catch on the back end. You know, we were talking with Sonny Cumbie this week, and they have what they call Turp touches. They try to get Cavante Turpin at least 10 or 12 touches in the game. Gary Patterson knows he's a true freshman, but he's such a dynamic playmaker that he uses him on offense and special teams.
He's from Monroe, Louisiana, true freshman, at a punt return for a touchdown against Kansas. He has 7 receiving touchdowns in the season. He's already returned 2 kickoffs in this game. And without Dotson and the other guys that we showed you, they need Turpin to make big plays. And that was a great play, but I'd be surprised if this gets overturned.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands, incomplete pass.
And that's because, you know, again, had they ruled on the field touchdown, I don't think you would have seen video replay overturn it either. So it's 3rd down and 11. Remember, there was a holding penalty in Joseph Noteboom.
But I think this is 4-down territory without question for Trevon Boykin, especially the rain coming down. They're not going to attempt a 48-yard field goal. So,
although they do have a great kicker, Jaden Overcrom. He made a 57-yarder earlier this year. Three-man rush for Baylor. Boykin steps up and runs at the 30 and heads out of bounds, so he doesn't get the first down. It would be about a 48-yard field goal from here, or it's 4th down and 6. And Boykin going to stay on the field. So you like this decision by Gary Patterson? Baylor has gone for it already on 4th down and converted twice.
I think you have to. It's unfair to put Overthrow out there. You know, I would say coming into the game, anything under 40-yard field goals you feel good with. But over that, I mean, it's dicey.
4th down and 7. It looks like Baylor's going to bring pressure here. No safety in the middle of the field for the Bears.
You get one-on-one on the outside with Porter and Reed.
Now they back off and rush 4. Boykin slings it incomplete. Not on the same page with Stewart, the receiver. And so Baylor takes over on downs.
Great look on defense from Phil Bennett. There he is talking to Sells, the safety. But look at pre-snap. There's no safety back here. But then once they snap the ball, they're going to drop out and play a zone. And it fools Trevon Boykin. It's a great look from Phil Bennett with a defense that is getting better and better as the season has gone on. Pressuring with 4, confusing the quarterback. And Oklahoma State did that to Trevon Boykin as well. And he got 4 turnovers from him. Phil Bennett, the longtime defensive coordinator, he lives on turning the football over. 22 times they've done it this season. That's 4th in the conference. And they got Trevon Boykin.
So Chris Johnson making his first collegiate start. Hands it off to Shock Linwood. Breaks 1 tackle and then spun down in the backfield. Denzel Johnson makes another play. He's got 11 tackles for a loss now in the season. A loss of 1 on the play. And Johnson slips and down he goes.
We've seen a couple players. Trevon Blanchard on defense slipped and gave up a play. This time it's Johnson, and you gotta be aware you can't make these huge strides. You see how he tries to make that huge stride there, and the turf just comes out from underneath him. You gotta, when it's wet and it's slippery, you gotta take smaller steps, and you'll keep your feet.
So it's 3rd down and 14. Johnson, and nothing there. Pearson's got a hold of him and takes him down to force a punt.
Well, you take a look at this turf now. The surface is really becoming saturated. And if you go back to the game versus Kansas, Trevon Boykin got injured as his foot got caught in the turf. So now this thing's starting to come up a little bit. Cleats are sliding all over the place, and it's only going to get worse. This is a heavy downpour right now, and now field position's about to flip in TCU's favor as a result.
We're not expected to get freezing rain. The temperature is supposed to stay in the upper 30s. But again, that wind chill in the low 20s, and it continues to pour here in Fort Worth. Turpin is the deep man for the punt by Galitz. And it's secured for the fair catch. There was contact afterwards. I don't know if there was enough for a penalty. I think Baylor gave him enough room. It was a 31-yard punt, no return.
Yeah, the long snapper gets down there, and then he just gets pushed in the back by one of his own guys.
But he got pushed by a TCU player.
That's a good no call. You know, with the weather like this, the guys that probably have a really tough job are the kickers. You know, those punters catching the football. They're over there on the sideline freezing. Their hands are getting wet, and they got to go out there and catch the ball. So keep an eye when these teams punt. The snapper and the kicker catching the ball will be a big key in the game.
Boykin sidearms it out to Nixon. And Sean Nixon now 37 catches on the season. He missed all last year with injury, had a redshirt. But with all those injuries at wide receiver, he's a running back that they're throwing the ball a lot to now, and he gets 2 yards there.
And he was tackled by Tayon Sells, who the backup safety who's playing in place of Orion Stewart, who is out again this week. The emotional leader in that secondary for Phil Bennett. But we've already seen Phil Bennett trust his defensive secondary with some complicated looks, blitz, and zone. So Sells is more than capable.
Taking a lot of time off the play clock. Boykin with time and throws that one out of bounds. Trying to hit Nixon. Trevon Blanchard was running with the receiver that time, so it's 3rd down and 8.
You mentioned Blanchard had a heck of a football game against Oklahoma. 14 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, an interception. He's that wild card on this defense. You know, he's playing the position Colin Brent's played last year. They ask a lot of him in coverage, but also getting after the quarterback and stopping the run. He's got to do it all.
So many people talk about Baylor's offense for good reason, but they do have some very good players on defense. John Oakman, we haven't said his name yet. Andrew Billings, we talked about. Blanchard as well. 3rd down and 8. The play clock at 1. They did not get it off. Penalty marker down. Why do you think they're taking so much time off the play clock here on this possession?
Snap, delay a game. Offense, number 2. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
It's not like Gary Patterson, since he installed this offense a couple of years ago, wants to take the play clock down that much. Doesn't do it very often.
Yeah, well, Gary doesn't get involved in the offense. It's Sonny Cumbie and Doug Meacham exclusively. And there's a lot going on out there right now for Trevon Boyd. He's trying to overcome that ankle, the elements, and get the plays called, and just lost sight of the play clock.
So 3rd down and 12. Here comes Billings. Look out. Down goes Boykin at the 22. Lost his footing, and again playing with an ankle injury as Billings gets the sack to force a TCU punt.
We talked about Joey Hunt, the center, out. Austin Slotman is the center right here. If you're going to match him up one-on-one with Andrew Billings, you're going to lose. And that's just part of that is Slotman being outmatched, but part of that scheme too. You can't leave a center playing only his 2nd game of the year with one of the best defensive linemen in all of college football and think you're going to win.
Links Hawthorne is deep. This is an excellent punt. Hawthorne muffs it. TCU appeared to jump on it at the 30-yard line.
It was a great punt from Ethan Perry. Gave his coverage unit time to get down the field, and they get the football.
48-yard punt. It was muffed and recovered at the 30-yard line by TCU. It's Davis Devereaux. Check that Paul Whitmill with the recovery.
And that's Listenby, the starting wide receiver that got down there first. Great effort. You ask your starters to do everything, and Listenby getting down on punt coverage. You never know when that's going to happen, and mistake by Hawthorne.
Look at the last couple of games. Turnover margin for Baylor after a great start. -5 the last couple games, but they won last week despite the turnovers at Oklahoma State. TCU ball now at the Baylor 30, trailing by 7 late in the 1st quarter. Here's Aaron Green, and Oakman can't make the play on Green, and he's knocked down at the 16-yard line after a gain of 4 or 5. Aaron Green playing his final game here at TCU, final home game. He's a transfer from Nebraska. Grew up in San Antonio. A 1,000-yard season.
He's a dynamic playmaker. Just watching his last 3 games of film, you know, you see him with the jump cut in particular. He made Oklahoma State and Oklahoma look silly with some of those jump cuts. The question is, with this kind of footing, will he be able to use his strongest weapon?
2nd down and 5. Boykin pulls it back, and the pass way overthrown. Intended for Porter. 3rd down.
Well, that's the first time we've seen Trevon Boykin. You see him rubbing his hands, lose control of the football. But going back to Aaron Green, you talk about the jump cut ability, Brian. That's where his short, choppy steps really help him on this surface, because he stays balanced and under control, and he doesn't overreach, which causes you to slip and pull up the turf.
Yeah, quick feet. Even some of the best backs that I've ever seen have been around have had those quick feet, and they're able to keep their balance. And Aaron Green, they need to get him established. They can't rely solely on the pass.
All right, Baylor showing that same look. This time they bring pressure on 3rd down. Jump ball, and it's picked off inside the 5 by Howard. And Howard takes it back to the 17.
We saw this in the 4th quarter last year from Phil Bennett in this game. All-out pressure, and the answer from TCU was to throw the fade. Well, they bring it. Baylor anticipates it, and Xavier Howard knows exactly when to turn around and time his jump and gets the interception.
That's the 5th interception of the season for Howard. And so that's 2 opportunities inside the Baylor 35. And the Horned Frogs come away with nothing. They trail 14-7 Baylor trying to keep Big 12 title and college football playoff hopes alive, leading 14-7 at TCU. 111th meeting between these two schools, but only the second where both have been ranked. The first was last year, 61-58. Baylor won in Waco after trailing by 21 in the fourth quarter. They're going to run it here. Corey Coleman getting the call on a rush, and he's out to the 33 for about 14 yards. Seth Russell took over for Bryce Petty, started the year, went 7-0, and then injured his neck against Iowa State. He's out for the year. Jarrett Stidham started 3 games, injured his ankle against Oklahoma State. He could return for the Bears should there be a bowl game or a playoff game, as Johnson throws it deep, and this is intercepted by Nick Orr.
We saw this last week in the second half from Chris Johnson. Yes, he threw 2 touchdowns and they beat Oklahoma State, but he also threw an interception late just like this. So you see over the top, it's too deep, and it's clear that it's too deep. You can't just throw the ball down on a fade with a safety back there. It turns into a punt. Those are the decisions. You want to be aggressive, and you want to do what you do when you're Baylor, which is throw the ball down the field to Katie Cannon and Jay Lee. But you also have to be smart and read the defense and not give the football away.
So that's 2 interceptions now in the season for Johnson to go along with 2 touchdowns. And TCU gets it back. How about 3 straight turnovers? You have the muff punt by Baylor, and then the interception by Boykin, who's just 1 of 6 after a hot start. And now a turnover on the interception thrown by Johnson.
I don't think that's going to change, Dave, with the way it's, I mean, it's coming down hard now.
So does TCU try to keep it on the ground here? They will. Kyle Hicks off the right side. And Hicks slammed down by Oakman. Sells there first. It's a gain of 5.
I really think Doug Meacham needs to get this run game going, whether it's Hicks or whether it's Green. You're not going to get the production on the ground from number 2. So you have got to establish a running game if you're going to win this football game. There's Doug Meacham.
You got Sonny Cumbie in the booth, the co-offensive coordinators. They're not going to run a play here. That's the end of the first quarter. Trevon Boykin with the touchdown pass, but he also threw an interception. His final home game coming off an ankle injury. Trying to get TCU its 10th win of the season and beat its rival. But the Baylor Bears lead 14-7 after 1 in Fort Worth.
Ohio State, Michigan, Saturday at noon Eastern on ABC.
Celebrating its 11th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. We welcome you back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Jimmy John's, part of ESPN's rivalry series, presented by Jiffy Lube. It's 14-7 Baylor. So far the difference is the rush game. Only as a sack there by Jamal Palmer on Boykin. They had only 15 rushing yards in the first quarter, and a loss on that second down play of 7 yards.
We mentioned Joey Hunt out, Jamal Naff out, and that put Matt Pryor, 64, in at right guard, and Jamal Palmer just too quick for Pryor. You know, this defensive front playing without Bo Blackshear tonight. They're playing a 3-man front because they don't have the numbers on the defensive line without Blackshear. But Palmer and Billings already have made plays in the backfield.
And we talked about the TCU injuries on defense. Baylor has plenty of them. Boykin a ton of time to throw. Has to try to check it down, and it's incomplete. Looking to hit Kyle Hicks. So it's 4th down. Another punt coming here for the Horned Frogs.
You know, you see Trevon Boykin. He comes up a little bit hobbled, but he tried just at the last second on that second down to try and back out. He just can't do it. And so the hidden yardage plays, the improvised plays, the spectacular plays that he makes on his own are being hampered not only by an injury but by the surface as well, and it negatively affects the production of this offense.
We've seen it affect the kicking game too, Tom. Baylor coming after it, and they got close. Hawthorne, who muffed the punt, wants no part of this one. It's on the other hash mark near the 30-yard line.
That could have been fielded easily by Hawthorne, but he just ran away. That might be their strategy the remainder of the game, is not try to field these punts.
Tomorrow, college football presented by Cars.com at noon with the top-ranked team in the country, Clemson, led by Deshaun Watson, taking on rival South Carolina. Florida State at 7:30. College football presented by Hilton Hotels. Both games you can also watch on the Watch ESPN app. So in the first quarter, only 2 completions, but really Baylor ran the ball so well. They had over 100 rushing yards in that first quarter. That was the difference. TCU can't run the ball. Baylor can. And here's Shock Linwood getting to the outside across the 40. Pushed out by Ty Summers after 12 yards. So Chris Johnson making his first start, and his 2 predecessors are here, both out with injury. Seth Russell down on the field. Jarrett Stidham in the booth. Again, Stidham could return for a bowl game for Baylor. Johnson, a sophomore, going to hand it off. Linwood with a big hole. It's another first down.
Saw in the pregame, this is Chris Johnson. He's got Jarrett Stidham's number 3 there and Seth Russell's number 17 on his wristband. That's really cool. These guys are tight in that quarterback room, and you'll see that very often. Third-string quarterback come in and put the number of those guys on his wristband.
Linwood, and they finally get him for a short gain. It was Traven Howard and Davion Pearson.
It's a testament. Sorry, Dave. It's a testament to Chris Johnson that you know, it's not about him. He's not coming in and say, okay, hey, it's my chance to shine, and I'm going to come out, I'm going to win more snaps and all this. No, he's out here, and first thing he does in his first start as a collegiate athlete is to honor the 2 guys that came before him. I think that's really cool.
Getting the help of a solid run game so far. This pass incomplete. It was dropped by Davion Hall.
You talk about that close-knit group, Grease. I was talking to Seth Russell before the game. He said he just wants to help Chris Johnson out. He knows that he came in as a quarterback, got beat out, moved to wide receiver, comes back in at quarterback. Seth Russell just wants to be a positive influence on Chris Johnson and ensure that Chris Johnson feels comfortable in this role.
Well, they just lost their center. Kyle Fuller just left the game. And as the quarterback Johnson tries to run, he lost the ball, and it's picked up by TCU. Josh Caraway on the run. They're not going to catch him. Caraway with a TCU touchdown.
You mentioned those 3 turnovers, Dave, to start the game. Now Chris Johnson with his 7th rush. We got to protect the football all the way to the ground. He's wrapped up with his legs. And Traven Howard, number 32, rips the ball out. That ball is out. That's a fumble. And Josh Caraway, who gave up the first touchdown, if we remember, on that personal foul, late hit on the quarterback, is in position and makes a play for Gary Patterson.
Great job by the official, too, to catch it, because if they rule him down and it's overturned, which now as you look at the replay, you can see clearly the ball is out, then you don't get the return. But because they let it go, the official thought it was out, called it a fumble. The touchdown will stand as well. That left knee is still up and the ball is out.
Yep.
Traven Howard and Montrell Wilson on the hit. And Josh Caraway picks it up, shows speed. He had a big game last week, 2.5 sacks against Oklahoma. Made a mistake on the first drive with that
personal foul. Yeah.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Fumble, touchdown.
You know how detailed Gary Patterson is, especially with his defense. And in a game like this, you're coaching your guys on defense. If you get one guy to wrap up, the second and third guy to the football, got to go for the football, strip it out, because the conditions are going to give you ample opportunity to turn the ball over.
Already 4 turnovers here, 2 by Johnson, an interception, and now a fumble. Overcrom on for the extra point to tie it. 14. Even this probably won't be easy given the rain and the conditions with the wind and also the footing, but pretty smooth there. Ties the game at 14. Well, Chris Johnson's first collegiate start not going so well. He's throwing a pick. Now he coughs it up. And Caraway takes it the distance to tie the ball game.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Mini. The 0 for 15 sales event is happening now. And Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
Our crew dinner at Ruth's Chris in the hotel last night. And our guys worked so hard. We appreciate it. James Christopher and Wes Archer, Greg Thomas.
Greg was styling last night. He had that shirt on last night. He was looking good. Wes there on the camera. Talking about these guys working hard out in the elements.
Yeah, James.
James, yeah. Luganville only had 3 plates last night. I was disappointed. I thought he might go for the 4th.
That's why he wasn't pictured. We edited that part for
yeah, you don't want to put him on television eating in any way, shape, or form.
Hey, Dave, you want to come join these elements?
Oh, this booth is nice and warm, Tom.
Okay, I just wanted to. Is it dry? Good, good.
All right, so we're in Tom's head. Is TCU in Chris Johnson's head right now?
Well, Chris Johnson needs to get out of his own way here. Stop turning the football over. Protect him.
And a pooch. This is live, and it's slippery. And Zamora slides to the 26-yard line. I like that by TCU.
Every special teams play is going to be exciting the rest of this game with the way that the elements are. But, you know, Baylor's got to get back to what they were doing so well, running the football between the tackles. And talking with Kendall Briles this week, you know, he said, I don't know how much we're going to run Chris Johnson because he's our only healthy quarterback. We can't afford to get him hurt. He's already got 8 rushes tonight. Kendall Briles is probably going to get Shock Linwood, Chafin, Johnny Jefferson back involved in this drive.
He's got his center, Kyle Fuller, back on the field. Fuller was not out there in that last play. He went to the sideline, and Blake Blackmar was in the game. So far, Johnson has only thrown 5 passes. And here's Jefferson straight ahead, ripped down to the 31-yard line. Tackled by Bryson Henderson, a handful on the ground for Johnny Jefferson.
You think about Baylor, you think of speed down the field. You don't think of this offensive line, but it is a strength.
Jefferson gets drilled by Ty Summers. Now Pearson also getting off the block. So maybe a gain of 1, 3rd down. To your point in this offensive line, their left tackle, Spencer Drango, he's an Outland Trophy finalist. Number 58 there. Jefferson upended. Traven Howard, who has moved from strong safety in the middle of the season. He's their 3rd different starting middle linebacker because of all those injuries, makes the play.
Well, take a look. He has to avoid a lineman coming around. It's Pat Colbert, 69, avoids it. Between Ty Summers and Traven Howard, those 2 guys have stepped into that Mike linebacker position for Gary Patterson. With all the injuries they went through, this defense was on the verge of breaking down. Those 2 guys have really solidified and been the glue that's kept Gary Patterson's defense together this season.
They keep the momentum going after the fumble recovery for a touchdown, and here's a bad snap. Galitz gets the punt away, and it's a really good kick. Fair caught at the 27-yard line.
I think it was
Hunter
a good
just
snap.
dropped it.
Yeah, he was just Galitz just dropped it, and you got to focus. You have to have supreme focus, and when you're punting the football, you got to catch it like anybody else does.
Had to move a little bit to his left, but not much there, but did a good job to scoop and get rid of it. Out and about on a college football Saturday. Great games tomorrow. Don't miss any of them. Stream any game live. Download the Watch ESPN app or go to watchespn.com. 3 Baylor turnovers here in the first half. We're tied at 14. TCU with a 1st and 10 from his 27-yard line. Trevon Boykin leading the country. Total offense, yards per game. And there was not a running back there, so Boykin loses yardage. Trying to hand it off to Aaron Green, but he wasn't there. Our lows never stop improving. How Gary Patterson has improved. They were 4-8 2 years ago. He changes the offense. He goes to the spread, brings in a pair of new coordinators in Sonny Cumbie and Doug Meacham.
Yeah, I think that was the right call for Gary Patterson. You see Sonny Cumbie in the middle there. And, you know, the thing I've noticed now 2 years with these 2 coordinators, and there's Doug Meacham, is that the offense and defense now are playing more as a unit, more as a team. They're not individual units, which I think is important.
Here's Turpin off the right side. He gets stood up and shoved out by Taylor Young. It'll bring up a 3rd and long.
What I mean by that is I think that Gary Patterson has learned how to coach with these two offensive coordinators. You know, defensively, they're going to be put under a little bit more pressure, because if they go 3 and out in the up-tempo offense, they're going to be on the field a little bit more. But I think they've found that balance now, and Gary Patterson knows what to expect from Meacham and company on the offense.
And Grace, they had to find the right quarterback for this system. The right quarterback happened to be a guy playing receiver 2 years ago, Trevon Boykin, and last year he ends up finishing 4th in Heisman consideration. Here's a screen pass to Kyle Hicks, and Hicks gets the 1st down out to the 40-yard line.
That's a great call when the weather is the way it is to get the screen game going. You see the offensive line. You don't have to block Andrew Billings, their best player. You get Schlotman out front, Foltz out front, and get the ball in the hands of Hicks with an easy completion.
First 3rd down conversion for either team here in the first half. We haven't had a lot of 3rd down plays to begin with. Just shy of the 40-yard line. Green. You see those jump cuts. Beautiful. Moves in the hole, and it's a gain of 8 yards.
No, Dave, I've heard you reference, Trevon Boykin was a receiver 2 years ago. Other players that have come in at different positions and changed. That's Gary Patterson's recruiting philosophy. If they can run and they can play in space, he'll figure out where to play them once he gets them. That's the beauty of this team and how it's built. They want athletes. They want team speed. They'll build around their philosophy once the kids get on campus.
I don't think he knew that Trevon Boykin was going to be as good as quarterback as he's been.
Hicks has the 1st down. He gets stoned by Tayon Sells, but he does move the chains into Baylor territory.
But one thing, though, when it comes to recruiting for TCU that you got to be so impressed with is with the injuries that have occurred with this roster and the depth that all of a sudden has manifested itself. If this was 5 years ago and this was a team that was still in the Mountain West Conference, there's no way they could have survived it. That's how far they've come in a short period of time of building a talented roster with no drop-off as a result of injuries.
When you go back to a handful of years ago, Andy Dalton was the quarterback. Obviously a lot different offense with Dalton at quarterback, now starring for the Bengals. Aaron Green slammed down by Blanchard, no gain.
When you take a look at the recruiting classes for both Baylor and TCU, and you see the sheer numbers over the last few years, look at the number of high-caliber players that have come out of the ESPN 300 rankings for both Baylor and TCU. But maybe more importantly, there's still a lot of 4-star caliber players that weren't in the ESPN 300 that are on both of these rosters. And so you see why the natural progression with both of these rosters have competed on the national level with everybody that they take the field against. The caliber of player has dramatically increased.
Tom, the right guard, Matt Pryor, just went to the sideline with an injury, so Patrick Morris is in for him. We'll see what happens here on 2nd and 10 as Green slips and down at the 47 for a loss of 3. It's 3rd and long.
Bad footing there for TCU. When we talk about distance in terms of your recruiting pool and where you got to go to get players, we touched on Nebraska several weeks ago on the challenges in recruiting to the University of Nebraska. You don't necessarily see those challenges with TCU and Baylor. Look at the model and look at the number of miles that just TCU in particular has to go. Gary Patterson and his staff can throw a rock outside of their office and hit a recruitable player. So that gives you huge advantages within your state, and you don't even have to leave not only the state, in many instances, the city.
It's become arguably the best college football rivalry in Texas. 111th meeting as Boykin heads out of bounds. No running room. It's 4th down, and they're going to have to punt the football. Think about it. These two schools at one point were both located in Waco. It goes back to the 1800s when these two teams started to play each other. And back when they were both in the Southwest Conference and the Big 12 was expanding, they took Baylor instead of TCU.
That's still smart. It's the TCU fan base. They did not like that. The governor, they felt like the governor, Ann Richards, had something to do with it. And this rivalry has now gotten a little bit chippy, especially after 61-58 last year.
And a lot of spray paint in both schools. As Hawthorne got out of the way of that one again. And so TCU and Baylor tied at 14 midway through the second. This week, the College Game Day crew is in Stillwater. Herbie and the gang for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. There's Reese. Pollock not paying attention to Reese. Lee Fitting, Coach Corso. At 9 a.m. as Herbie will call the Oklahoma State game with Chris Fowler on ABC 8 Eastern tomorrow night. Here in Fort Worth, TCU and Baylor tied at 14. Baylor trying to keep its hopes alive for a Big 12 championship. It needs Oklahoma to lose tomorrow night. Plus, the Bears have to win this game and then beat Texas next week. Here's Chris Johnson, just his 6th pass attempt of the game, and it's caught by K.D. Cannon right at the first down marker. We talked about the rivalry. 61-58 was the score last year, and we're told that this is coincidence. You buy that?
I love it. I don't care if it's coincidence or not. I love it. You know, you put those two guys together. That's two of the starting offensive linemen, Drango and Gerald Broxton.
Corey Coleman taken down for no gain. They did pick up the first down in the last play.
There's no question that Art Briles likes to, rub it in a little bit. I don't know if that was planned or not, but those two guys are depending on this offensive line. We talked a little bit about it, but Art Briles is a physical guy. We know he's an emotional guy, and he wants to establish a line of scrimmage, and the offensive line is where it starts.
High pass, and boy, if Julius Lewis was paying attention, he would have picked that off. So it's 3rd down and 10. Or 2nd and 10. They're starting to throw the ball here. It is 3rd down, excuse me.
Yeah, when you try to fake and then get that ball out, the quarterback's not able to get his hands on the laces, Dave. That's what Tom was talking about in the pregame. And when you don't have your finger on the laces on a wet ball, it's almost impossible to throw it accurately.
So they've come out throwing the ball here on this possession as Johnson's on the run, and that's a great catch, but short of the first down. K.D. Cannon. It'll be 4th down and 5.
K.D. Cannon had a great game last week, over 200 yards, and you're right, he comes down with that football. Great catch.
But they're well short. They're going to punt 4th down and about 5.
It's a struggle for receivers in games like this, because these receivers, Lee, Cannon, Corey Coleman, they like to get their rhythm. They like to run downfield and make splash plays, but it's just not going to happen when it's wet out like this. So they've got to keep their heads about it.
This is Galitz's 3rd punt of the game. He had 29 all season, the 2nd fewest in college football. Fair catch by Turpin.
Let's take a look at Phil Bennett defensively. They've gotten to inside the head of Trevon Boykin. This was a 4th down. They show an all-out blitz, and then they pop out and they play a zone behind it, which fools Boykin. He throws the ball into traffic, and it's an incompletion and a turnover on downs. Then they come back the next series, same look, all-out pressure, and they bring the blitz, and that tells Trevon Boykin to throw the fade, but Xavier Howard is in perfect position to intercept the football. Great example of Phil Bennett and how he mixes up his all-out pressure and his drop 8 zones, and so far he's gotten the best of Trevon Boykin.
From the TCU 38-yard line, let's see if the Horned Frogs try to get the run game going. They throw it out to Turpin in the flat. The pass was behind him, and Turpin gets pushed out after a short gain. 2-yard pickup to the 40.
You referenced those couple of looks there, Brian, and if you go back over the tape the last few weeks and you look at how Oklahoma State D'd up TCU and how Oklahoma D'd up Baylor, it was the zone concepts that were the common denominator, the change-up, where you think you've got the one-on-one isolation route, you don't with over-the-top help, which led to turnovers and really created havoc for TCU and Baylor on offense against that type of defense.
Boykin stepping up, and he'll run. And Boykin drilled from behind, lost the ball. Baylor has it. Recovered by Taylor Young. Another turnover.
Great effort from Jamal Palmer, who just rushing the quarterback, Dave, and then comes up from behind Boykin. He's got a motor, and he's playing at a high level now. Phil Bennett talked about him coming back from an ACL from last year. Look at him coming from behind with that effort. Goes right for the football. Clearly out.
So that's 2 turnovers by TCU, both on Boykin. 3 giveaways by Baylor, 2 on their quarterback. Great play by Palmer to punch it free. Palmer played only 5 games last year because of a knee injury. He's made more plays than Sean Oakman, who gets more press
Yeah, and to make an effort play like that when he's playing every snap. They don't have any subs to come in for Jamal Palmer.
So first down, Johnson's pass caught. The ball on the ground is ruled incomplete. It was intended for Jay Lee. He got whacked. And it's incomplete. Kindred with the stick. Second down.
You see these defenses now really keying in, putting a hat on the football, stripping when they get to the ball carrier. This is going to be a key element in how this game ultimately is played out. Who can protect the football best?
Heavy rain throughout. This game started 45 minutes late because of lightning. And we've got an official stoppage. Switching footballs. Yep.
You know, the other thing, Dave, to keep an eye on is these guys have been out here now for an hour and a half almost. And when it's cold like this, a wind chill in the low 20s, and you're wet, the hands get numb, and then the gloves get wet, and it makes it even more difficult for all these offensive players to hold on to the football.
If you're a quarterback in shotgun,
the clock will start in an era. Please set the clock to 4:46. 4:46, and the clock will start on the snap.
Reese, if you're a quarterback in shotgun in these kind of offenses, is it harder when your hands are cold and wet to grip it how you want to, when you got to catch it quickly and throw it quickly?
Yeah, there's two issues. The first issue is it's wet, so it's slippery, but maybe even more important than that is when it gets cold, now your hand gets numb, so your hand, you can't really feel well, and it's wet. So there's two things going against you.
Second and 10. Johnson, everybody covered, and Johnson throws it away. Was he outside the pocket? There was a receiver in the area, Katie Cannon. I think that'll help him here. Third down.
It's a good idea by Chris Johnson. Save the yardage, get outside the pocket, and unload that ball. Yards are at a premium.
Look at this. Third down tonight. These teams 1 for 12, and both have been so efficient on third down this year. Baylor is 4th in the country coming in third down conversions. Well, they've been in third and long a lot. Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator. Play clock at 1. And Johnson stepping up. It's a jump pass caught by Linwood for a first down to the 35-yard line.
Boy, and they almost got caught with a lineman downfield, Blake Muir. This is what some of these defenses dislike about this offense. When that quarterback comes downhill like he's going to run the football and then pops it over the linebacker who's sucking up on the quarterback, you can't have linemen downfield, and Muir was very close.
And it is really coming down now. Johnson tried to hit Lee. Incomplete. Denzel Johnson in coverage. And it's second down and 10. This is the hardest it's rained. I think Luke should be able to tell us more, but I just imagine from up here watching it, looks like it's the hardest it's come down yet in this game. Second and 10. Johnson keeping, got 2 hands on the football after he turned it over earlier. Gets to the 30-yard line.
Guys, it's raining so hard right now they could have a perfectly dry ball when it's snapped and have it be soaking wet by the time it gets to the quarterback. This is really debilitating. And right now, Chris Johnson seems to be handling it up until this point.
Yeah, ball on the ground. Coleman scoops it up, and now they're out of field goal range. And Coleman is hurt. Corey Coleman, their best offensive player, a Biletnikoff finalist, shaken up on the play as he was taken down by Summers, and then there was another defender who came flying in, Mike Tua'ua. Watch this at the end. 93 hit Coleman right here.
Yeah, right on the back of the head there, and that could have easily been called targeting. You got to remember, if you hit a defenseless player in the head or neck area with any part of your body, that's a targeting foul. That should have been called on Tua'ua.
Only question is, was he pushed by Devin Chafin there? Chafin did give him a little bit of a shove, and I think that's why they didn't throw the flag.
Art Briles is hot. He is hot. Corey Coleman's arguably his best player on the team. And when he sees him on the ground and then a defensive lineman comes and hits him in the back of the head, he has every right to be hot.
And now a penalty marker is thrown.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Let's see here if Chafin pushes Tua'ua. 28 in white. He shoved him.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Tua was 260 pounds.
So Gaelet's to punt again. He's getting more work in this game than he has the entire season. There's 4 punts already. He averages 2 punts a game. And look at that thing just die in the mud at the 14. Let's go to Adnan Burke in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. Coming up in the DXL halftime report, the latest on Les Miles. Maria Taylor talks to him. This was just a couple hours ago, but all these rumors swirling around his job there at LSU. Also, Kirk Herbstreit is going to join us. What to look forward to specifically when it comes to Bedlam and Ohio State, Michigan. Also highlights from the Apple Cup and also the Civil War. We're just wondering, how is Tom Luginbill holding up in the weather there? Josh, back to you.
Well, we're doing better than he is, Adnan, I can report.
He's growing webs on his feet as we speak.
So TCU takes over at its 15-yard line. 2:41 to go. All of its timeouts in a tie ball game. Boykin coming off another turnover, a fumble, but TCU able to force a punt after Baylor had the ball in midfield. Here's Green, and Billings brings him down at the 20. The gain of 5. That's one of their better run plays here in the first half. Second straight week with multiple first half turnovers. They were down 17 late in that game to Oklahoma last week. Boykin didn't play because of an injury. They got within 1. Gary Patterson decided to go for 2 in the win instead of playing for overtime. The 2-point play failed, and TCU suffered its second loss. Here's Boykin keeping on 2nd and 5, and he's able to slip a tackle and pick up the first down.
What an effort. You know, a week ago, you're playing without your best player in Trevon Boykin, and you're on the road, and you turn the football over. Then you have to make another quarterback change from Foster Sawyer to Bram Kohlhausen, and you're still in a position to potentially win that game without 20 starters on your team. And that speaks to the job that Gary Patterson has done this year. Might be his best coaching job.
He won 12 games last year, trying to get win number 10 here tonight. Another run play. Green to the outside, and again a beautiful cutback. I mean, that's hard to do on field turf when it's 80 degrees and sunny, yet you got horrible conditions here, and he's able to make 2 guys miss with those jump cuts.
I think you're going to continue to see Aaron Green run to the outside of the formation because TCU is really struggling to block Andrew Billings on the inside.
Keep it on the ground here. Green has the first down and goes down to the 42-yard line. And it's a pushing and shoving as Howard made the tackle, and then Chance Waz stepped in and started jawing. No penalty flag. Let's see now if TCU starts to turn the pace up now that they're closer to midfield. They've been taking a lot of time here. They're going to call a timeout that will leave them with 2.
Starting to get a little chippy. We expected coming into this game that this rivalry, bad blood between the two. And Aaron Green, you think he's not ready to play in this football game?
So TCU comes into this game, and Brian, knowing that, look, they can't challenge for a Big 12 championship, but they get to 10 wins, play in a big bowl game. And Boykin, we knew he'd play, even with the ankle injury. How do you assess his performance, given the conditions? He's had 2 turnovers, but he had a great touchdown pass in the first quarter.
Well, you're not gonna hear me criticize a quarterback when they turn the football over when the conditions are like they are, because I've been there, and this is not easy to play in. These are 2 explosive offenses. Trevon Boykin is an outstanding player. I believe he should be in New York for the Heisman Trophy, but you got to find a way to manage the elements and try not to turn the football over. When you're running with the ball, you got to be aware of guys coming from behind you. The team that protects the ball for the remainder 2.5 quarters will win this game.
Boykin gonna air it out, going for Listenby. He can't pull it in. It's incomplete. Oh, that pass was there. Listenby just couldn't come down with it.
Beautiful throw from Trevon Boykin, and normally Colby Listenby will come down with this. It would have been a great catch. But we've seen him make these kinds of plays for his quarterback.
Xavier Howard in coverage. So 1:04 to go here in the half. 2 timeouts remaining for TCU. Here's Aaron Green. There's no running room, and he is hogtied inbounds by Oakman. There's Oberkrom. Now he's got a 57-yard made field goal. The conditions were a little different when he kicked that one. He's tied for first in Pac-12 history with or Big 12 history with Michael Honeycutt of Oklahoma for the most career field goals.
I think they need to get the football back to Emmanuel Porter. He had 2 catches early on the opening drive.
Why is he taking so much time here, Brian?
Not sure.
3rd and 12. I guess if you don't get it, you're punting to Baylor. You don't want them to have any time. But Boykin off a pump fake has a wide open guy. And it's dropped. Porter drops the ball.
He's wide open. You make that catch and you get out of bounds and stop the clock. And now you have an opportunity to take a couple of shots to get a field goal range. But nothing is going to be easy when you're handling the football in these elements, and you have to almost to a fault focus on the tip of that football. You know, teach receivers when the conditions are bad to focus on the tip of the ball. Porter let it go through his hands.
Ethan Perry to punt. Baylor setting up to go for the block. Now they back off, and they got close anyway. And that's a horrible punt. Goes into the stands. Although to your point, nothing is easy. I guess we'll spare the punter there. Let's see where they spot the ball. At least he didn't get it blocked. So it's on the Baylor 43 with 9 seconds left. They have timeouts. They can take one shot 20-25 yards down the field and give their kicker a chance.
Boy, at the start of this game, both offenses go right up and down the field, and you think that it's going to be a score fest like it was a year ago, 61-58. But remember, TCU's only scored 7 points on offense that first drive. The other score by Josh Caraway on a scoop and score. Be interesting to see in the second half how these teams adjust. You know, TCU defensively has been outstanding in the last 7 games. They've only given up 52 second half points. It's a testament to the adjustments that Gary Patterson can make at halftime. So I think this is going to be a tight game the whole way through.
Both of Baylor's touchdowns came on the ground. When's the last time Baylor had a game without a passing touchdown? They throw it to Coleman, who's back on the field. He slips. And will they call a timeout? No. Art Browse lets the clock run out. That's the end of the first half here in Fort Worth. A spot in the college football playoff, perhaps at stake for Baylor, and a Big 12 championship if they can win the next 2, and Oklahoma loses. We're tied at 14. Time now for the DXL halftime report.
All right, thank you very much.